Welcome to the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we, a business owner and an artist, discuss the business of art and the art of business.
Hey friends, I'm Carl, founder of Epic Made.
And I'm Ross, creative director at Epic Made. And we're the hosts of the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we share our thoughts on creativity, art, and business. Past guests include Ben Burns of The Future, Tim Harris of the Paragon NFT Project, and Ryan Summers of Spilt.
We're forever grateful for the supporters of our podcast, and as always, we're always looking for more sponsors. That said, Pixel Retentive is brought to you by the creative gurus at Epic Made. Epic Made is a team of strategists and artists who excel in visual storytelling. Our studio crafts unforgettable animations and illustrations that not only captivate your audience, but also drive tangible business results. We specialize in engaging imaginative, pop culture savvy audiences with beloved clients like Nickelodeon, WWE, and Sci-Fi. Let's collaborate on your next creative campaign.
With us today, we have Greg Walter. Welcome, Greg.
Thanks for having me.
He's the owner and the creative director of Too Tall Animation. Greg and his studio make animated hype videos for sports and apparel brands. Over the past couple of years, they've also been building their own NBA-focused entertainment platform on their social media and have big plans for building a ton of original IP and merch for their fans. Glad to have you, man.
Great to be here. Really appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for watching some of the episodes.
Yeah, no problem. It's a great pod. I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Dude, your NBA content is awesome, by the way. I checked that out the other day when we were chatting, and so much fun, man. And people are really into it, so it's great stuff. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been really neat to see how a passion project like that we did just kind of as a one-off for fun has really caught on. We never really expected it to turn into anything. It was just something we did when we had some downtime, and it was an idea that had been percolating for a long time, and we couldn't get anybody to actually fund it for us. And so when it came time, NBA playoffs in 2021, I think is the first time we did it. We did it, and it was just like a one video of like a recap, and it just kind of sat for a couple of years. And then a couple of years later, when my son texted me from school and he's like, "Hey, Dad, you should look at YouTube." And I checked YouTube, and the short version of it, the YouTube Shorts version of it, had like 4 million views, and I was like, "Oh shit, maybe we're onto something here." So when it came to 2023, we decided to do it. Every elimination live as it happened to see what would happen. And what happened is we went from 6K total followers on TikTok and Instagram to, in that first season, I think over almost 400,000 followers and about 130 million views in that first season. So we did it again and got a bunch more, big fan base, and really super grateful for everybody who's been watching it and participating a ton.
Super cool, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a very unexpected surprise.
I love it. Cool, and so before we jump into today's topic, we want our audience to get to know you a little bit better. So can you tell us how long you've been in the industry and the project you're most proud of so far?
Yes. So I've been doing animation in some form for about 25 years, which, seems like a long time. I've been doing it for 25 years with my creative partner, Ian Mork, who lives in Seattle. We worked together doing kids media for about 10 years in Seattle before I moved out here and started Too Tall. My favorite project was probably the one that we talked about earlier, the Chiefs project. That was one where we had a fun challenge doing a Christmas Eve animation for the Chiefs. We kind of cleared our schedule. Ian Mork and I, we didn't even bring many contractors on that. We just focused 100% on it to do something really cool and explore some new creative areas. And it turned out, I think it turned out great. The fans loved it, and it was probably the thing that I'm most proud of, just because we really were able to experiment and pay a lot of attention to every single little detail.
Yeah, it's incredible. I watched it before the show, and it's on their website that we'll have under his name, and just in case, it's tootall.tv, the number 2tall.tv. But yeah, I mean, the Tech Nine like song rap on the back, like him, you guys animating him, and just the pacing of all of it is just fantastic. It's incredible.
Awesome. Appreciate that. A lot of love went into that one. So I'm glad it landed with people.
Yeah.
And you can see it.
And so that kind of leads into, that kind of segues into the topic for today, which is sort of exploring your domain, Greg, which is discussing sort of sports storytelling, as well as just how that differs from working with maybe clients outside of the sports arena. I know that it is kind of its own unique ecosystem. And so I wanted to kind of explore that. We're also we're just recently started playing around in the sports arena as well. So I think that will be a really fun. I think we can learn something from you as well as the audience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious if you guys have found the same thing, but like we moved into sports about 6 years ago. And previous to that, we've been doing some branding work. We've been doing a lot of kids media work, things like that. And kids media really wasn't panning out just because we couldn't get enough funding to pay us to get better at what we did. Like we could get enough to do okay work, but we couldn't get enough to keep continuing to get better at our craft. And we really wanted to go into an area that had an adventurous spirit, like a real thirst for adventurous, innovative content. We thought about branding, going into more of a branding area. Most of the stuff that was being put out at the time that we were able to reach was kind of the video explainer area, which was extremely risk averse, and not a huge thirst for real creative stuff. And so we decided to take a tack straight into sports. We had done one project with the Seattle Sounders. We really liked it a lot. And we looked around at kind of what all the teams were doing, all the leagues were doing, and saw that there was a real thirst for creating thumb-stopping, innovative stuff that kept the fans glued to the screen. And also there was a real lack of animation in that sector. So we thought that it would be a niche that we could go into and we could not own, but really be a big player in pretty quickly. So the thing I like about sports storytelling, aside from it not being risk averse, it's completely not risk averse. It is very adventurous, and an area where people are willing to take a risk. But the other thing I really like about it is, like, compared to like branding. In branding, you're basically trying to convert people with a call to action and all that stuff. You're trying to take someone who has an enthusiasm level of possibly 0 and turn it up to somewhere where you can convert them to some actionable thing, which is great. So you're basically trying to create some degree of fandom. The thing I love about sports is you're actually starting with an audience that is already at a level of extreme fandom, and you're just trying to build that into a bonfire. And that's a much different design space. Like, not having to, knowing that someone is going to be easy to kind of glue to the screen, easy to get excited, then you can just see, well, how can I get this person the most excited I possibly can about this thing? Like, how can I tap into that enthusiasm by kind of drilling in a similar way you do with brands, like trying to figure out who the audience is, but like really drilling into what about a fan for this particular franchise makes them stay with that franchise through thick and thin. Like, what about themselves do they see in their team? What are their values? What is their connection to their city? What is their connection to their team? And really trying to figure out exactly where they are right now with their team, and then feed them some piece of content that will add a verse to that enthusiasm, that will add a verse to that story they're already telling in their own head about, this is my team, this is why I show up on Sunday or Saturday or whatever it is, and really trying to tap into something. And the thing I like about using animation to do that is most of sports content out there is photos, videos, and stats. And that's mostly what the fans want to see. 99% of the time, that's what the fans want to see. But there's a room in that extra 1% for something they've never seen before. And animation can take you to places that photos and videos can't take you. Like it can take you into areas that are mythological and epic, because one of the things that fans want to do is they want to build up their heroes into
the mythos of the sport as well. You know, you have these paragons, quasi god level players that like are larger than life. They're you know, greater than human in their reputation, and so translating them literally into, you know, more ethereal or more epic context is definitely a great opportunity. And I think additionally, like you mentioned explainer videos a while back. I think the onus of having to deal with explainer videos as a studio that's done a lot of them is there's a split focus between entertainment and information, where what you're doing doesn't require information to be delivered.
No, not generally.
Well, you can literally just put all of your ass behind like the entertainment value side of it and the artistry side of it, because you're really just trying to, like you said, stoke the flame of an already established fandom. You don't have to tell or sell somebody something in it being entertaining.
Yeah, I'm not the Boy Scout like making the little TP of sticks to try and get that initial flame to like turn it into something. I'm just a guy pouring gasoline on a flame that's already there. And that's so much more fun.
Yeah, that's great. You said that. I was like, wow, yeah, like we have to get somebody engaged and get them excited, get them to figure out quickly that they care about this thing, and then entertain them, then deliver information, versus like, here's LeBron. You love LeBron. Wow, LeBron just turned into jumped on a unicorn and sailed off into the, you know, it's like, you know, whatever you want, right? Like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Either way, you have to have some sort of skill in, like you said, sort of thumb stopping or scroll stopping. No matter what, that's the case, right? But the problem is after that, Carl, that you need to split the runtime between actual copywriting, basically. Like you need to split the runtime between information delivery and entertainment. Like I think we both have to start the same way, where like no matter what, you kind of have to get someone's attention whether they care about it or not. Like it doesn't matter. Like if Greg makes something, you won't know what it's about until 5 seconds in, right? So no matter what, you have to get someone's attention sort of in a bubble. But then after that, Too Tall can focus on exclusively entertaining in the sports arena.
Where I'm sure there's spaces where they're trying to promote a thing or whatever. But like, so,
and you still do that.
Like,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Yeah.
I was gonna say you still need to do that thing where you initially grab them in the first couple of seconds, like you would with anything you're putting out there as an ad or anything like that, because there are, like there is in advertising and like there is anywhere, there are just a zillion things someone could be looking at any moment, and they're gonna pass right by yours if it doesn't grab them right away. So even with a differentiator like animation and stuff like that, you still, if you don't grab them fast, like we've put a bunch of stuff out. I'm digressing, but like this social media thing we're doing has been an amazing experiment, because we've really seen like we've turned a lot of knobs on like what if we don't grab them instantaneously, even if we have a built-in crowd who knows they like our stuff, they still won't watch. They'll still flip on. Like you're still competing with the little mouse running around in everybody's brain that says, oh, maybe the next thing will give me a bigger dopamine rush. So we still need to attend to some of the core things that you need to do in any ad. And we still need to, and maybe even more, you still need to make sure that you deliver the right message, but it's not necessarily a call to action message. It's a gut message. Like
it's an emotional journey.
Yeah, exactly. That's well put. Yeah. So it's like, you have to take them on the one that they're ready to go on, or else they're not going to go on it. So,
Yeah.
like for instance, like if we want to talk about the Chiefs one, like in the initial talks we had with them, pardon me, we knew that they knew that they wanted to do a Christmas themed animation. And so the initial talks that we had were, okay, so you guys are arguably the best team in football. Your fans see all of you on an epic scale. One thing that we absolutely can't do is we can't make an animation that's a Christmas animation that's silly. Now's not the time to go silly. Now's the time not the time to go sweet. It's not the time to go cute. And so, like, especially since it's being played at a game where people are hyped up and they want to get more hyped up. So the challenge there was like, what do we do so we've got a holiday that's cute and fuzzy. We've got animation, which your initial hit when you see animation is, I'm about to watch something that kids would watch. Like, that's just the initial where your brain goes. So we've already got two things kind of against us there in making something that's hype. So keeping that in mind, we have to go really far the other direction with kind of how kind of dark and grainy and all that stuff that we're going to go. So what we decided to do was we decided to take like Night Before Christmas, which is, very cute and very like known to everyone, but go completely in the opposite direction of it. Go dark, go hip hop, have as many kind of like street level graffiti type influences as we can in the animation itself, and pair these things, these tropes of Christmas with something that kind of tears it down at the same time a little bit. So anytime you show something that is Christmassy, you balance it out with something that's badass, and trying to figure out how to do that. That was a really long way to say, basically, we have fans in seats. They want to see their guys like big and bold. They want to be pumped because they're getting close to the playoffs here at Christmas time. They're in stadium. And so what we can't do is we can't betray that moment and betray the trust and betray the relationship they have their team by just doing something where Patrick Mahomes shows up at a doorstep with a present and it's a doll, I whatever. Like,
that would be like the hallmarky Christmas message type situation.
Yeah. It had to make an impact, and it had to like take the direction they were already headed in and slingshot that even a little further. So that was the biggest creative challenge, the thing that made that really a fun project to work on, is just like how to like create and foil expectations kind of over and over again throughout this thing. And Tech9 was awesome in it too. Like he did a great job with this, and he made our jobs a lot easier. And so did the Chiefs creative team. They're amazing to work with. They're one of the most just kind of open and just cool and just up for anything creative groups we've ever worked with.
Oh yeah. So like I feel like the style you guys went with is also really cool. Like it definitely has like a Mike Mignola Hell of a Way sort of style to it. And I have the whole set. So like
awesome.
It's it looks really good. It's a really solid marriage of like Christmas iconography, but like with enough blasphemy in there that you can that it's like it really keeps the focus on it being hardcore. But so like I think that a lot of people in our industry, I know I've had this perception in the past as well. I think they see stuff like sports leagues as this impenetrable. It's something similar to Hollywood, right? Where it's like this impenetrable partner to get in touch with. Like, how did you actually get into working with the NFL or working with these sports teams or the NBA or whatever? Like, did you just reach out to them, or was there like a different process?
Yeah, that was just a really dumb decision on my part to like change our whole studio over to a sports studio, because I actually had zero contacts in the sports industry. I had absolutely nothing but this one Sounders project that we did, and knew that I had some enthusiasm. What we did was when it was time to switch over the studio, our whole portfolio, people will never hire you for something you haven't already done.
Right.
So like we knew we needed to turn over enough of our portfolio that people would hire us to do high level sports work. And so basically we shut down the studio for like 3 months and just did passion project, little blurbs that weren't
all spec work.
What's that?
All spec work.
Yeah. Basically, we just did stuff we just did new style explorations that we wanted to try, and then we posted them on our meager social media, but especially on LinkedIn. Honestly, I was posting them on LinkedIn. I was connecting to as many people as I could in the industry, and just kind of hoping somebody would like it or would comment on it, and then other people would see it. And so we did that with like we were able to get another, I think the next project we got was with the Indiana Pacers. And that one was the first time we did something we call our living murals, our animated murals, where we suggested like, hey, what if we take the streets of Indianapolis and we like paint animated murals on the wall and have cameras moving throughout there and have it like this cool blue collar feeling, and like the players are painted on this city itself. And they were like, okay, sure, we can only pay you blank. And I was like, that's enough. And so we did a bunch of those jobs where we kind of took a loss lead to kind of just to get a few of our big ideas that we hadn't seen before out. And then we put that one out. It got a lot of great traction. We got a couple of other projects where people wanted to do that. And then after we had a couple of actual teams under our belts, it gave us enough credibility that we could, that other folks would start hiring us. But it was a couple of years before we were really able to convert most of our work over to sports. But now we're about 95% sports in our content. We're starting to branch back out a little bit into branding. But we've got 5 projects going on right now. One of them is non-sports, and then the rest of them are all sports.
Nice.
Yeah,
the niche is working well.
So far, so good. We'll see.
Yeah. We we've kind of been on a similar journey in the entertainment and gaming world. We took kind of a loss leader and some big risk on our first projects like sci-fi and stuff like that. Like, I'm pretty sure I spent more money on the team making the video than we did actually for the budget that we got paid. But, we won an Addy with it. We were able to leverage that, get other contracts. And, now we've got Sci-Fi, Nickelodeon, USA Network. And it's one of those things that spitballs, right? Like, you just need to get one of those big names in your portfolio. And then everyone's like, oh, well, you did work for them. You can definitely do work for us. And then it just gets a little easier then. But, this year has been crazy. Like, I think, and everyone I've talked to said the budgets this year have it's just been hard to find good, high paying work. So, I don't know what that's
tricky all over the place this year. A real roller coaster. I mean, we've been like idle for like 2 months, and then just like so slammed for like 2 months that our eyeballs are like popping out, and then completely idle again, and then slammed again. It's like there's panic at not having any work, and then it gets replaced quickly by panic about like, how am I going to get all this shit done? It's just like there's no like calm spaces where I can just like enjoy like running the studio, doing creative work. It's panic all the time. It's long hours all the time because it's in such flux right now. It's really hard to figure out exactly what's going on, exactly how much is being affected by the entertainment industry, layoffs, inflation, AI. It's who knows what's going on.
Or three, all the crazy.
Three, yeah.
The hottest days on record in the world, like in the ocean, like those things.
We are barreling towards Armageddon.
Oh my God! Yeah, I keep telling my wife and Ross, who I lovingly refer to as my work wife sometimes, but it's just like I just want to get off the ride for like just like a week, maybe a month. That'd be great. I just want to just take some deep breaths and not be stressed in either direction. But it'll even out. We've been around a long time, so.
Yeah, I don't recall a time when it's completely evened out for very long, and we've all been doing this for a long time, so I think it's just what it is.
Yeah, and then I take another step back and go, oh, well, I can always get a job. And I'm like, oh,
I know, right? It's like
I could like not do. No, that is not
Yeah.
a gym. Like,
It's funny. It's funny. People like, maybe even 10 years ago, it used to be this understanding that, you could get a corporate job somewhere and that you'd be significantly more secure, but that's actually not really the case anymore.
Yep.
Like, especially after COVID, the job security for literally any company for any reason is garbage. So you might as well just have your own situation going on, right? Like, you might as well try to ride the freelance stuff, because at the end of the day, at least you have control of your own destiny.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to get randomly canned, or like you don't have to deal with the bureaucracy that you don't want to deal with, or you haven't created yourself.
There's always that potential for the unlimited upside. Like, you're going to get that one big banger of a deal, or that one, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, I fantasize some days about just like showing up to a job, working 8 hours, and then going home and just like pulling a paycheck, and it just shows up and all that stuff, and I've got benefits and all that. And then I picture like having a boss, and I'm like, God, it's been a long time since I've had a boss, unless it was like the perfect boss. I don't know if I can do that anymore.
Yeah, I definitely can't. Like, I 100% am unemployable on that type of relationship.
Yeah.
Like, it's not ever going to work for me. But dude, yeah, it's crazy. And I think that's just part of the new world we live in now, especially now with creatives, and especially now that there's no taboos about working from home. Like, it's all like everybody does Zoom now. Everyone's got some sort of Zoom set up. Like, so I just feel like if you're a talented artist, like, you don't ever need to work for a shitty boss, right? Like, you can be a freelancer, you can work within other teams, and like, there's a whole lot of people that, like, we have a Rolodex of people we subcontract to. I'm sure you do as well. And like, the depth there in the relationships, it's all very like peer to peer. There's not like hey, we want to own you or dominate you, or like, it's like, hey, we want you to just have like, we need you, so here's your little slice of this pie. Like, is this worth it to you? Cool. Like, if everybody makes sense, then it works out, and everybody can. It's just a better world, I think, in terms of that. Hopefully, when some of these like budgets and insanities levels out a little, that'll be even better in the next year or two. So,
yeah, it's real tricky right now, because some projects that are coming in that are lower budget. It's very hard as a boss, as someone who runs a studio, to explain to like somebody like, I've paid you this, like, all I can pay actually on this is this. This by no means means that I am devaluing what you do, or that this is the new normal for what we pay you. But this is what we've got. So if, we're in a pinch, if this is worth it for you to do for this one, this is what we can pay you. And just kind of hoping that like we can get back to the big budgets, or bigger budgets, that will allow us to pay people what they're worth, pay people a living wage for what their talent level is.
Yeah, 100%. I had a project come in that Ross I didn't even tell about. They're like, yeah, we need like just something simple, something no big deal, 30 to 60 seconds. I'm like, all right. Dude's like, yeah, so we got a rush job quote from this other guy, so he said he could do it for $800. I was like, what are we talking about? Like, a 30 seconds of, I'm not going to make you a looping GIF for 30 seconds for $800. Like, who can make money on that? And, I was, kind to the guy, and he knew it was like a very small budget and like wants to work with us, but it was just like, oh my God, man. Like, it's amazing to me. I don't know where this is all heading or what the culmination of it's going to be, but unfortunately I have those conversations more often than I'd like. It's not all the time, but it's definitely like not never. Like, so
yeah, it's true. I mean, part of what I'm sure you guys have to do, and what we have to do, is when somebody comes to us and they just remember that they've probably never done this before. Like, they don't know what, like, you can't just Google how much does animation cost, and it'll say, okay, this is how much like it can cost. So if people will come to us and they'll have like a smaller budget, and this is kind of a little bit like, okay, so this is basically what our range is, and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of an education on top, but just trying to understand that people they don't know, like, they've never done this before, and they're feeling their way around as well. Now somebody who should know better comes at us with something that's like that's super low. And I'm just like, come on, man. But generally, a lot of those folks who come in the door, like, since we've done this social media thing, we've had a lot of folks who are fans of the social media thing coming to us and saying, hey, can you do an animation for my wedding, or like this little thing? And I would love to do all those things, but it's, we generally don't work, and I'm sure you guys are the same way. We generally don't work with individuals because, for what we do, we need to work with generally need to work with bigger groups who have bigger budgets for things and have some sort of an ROI that they see by dropping a decent amount of money on something. So we have to usually explain, hey, we don't generally work with individuals. This is our range. Thanks for being a fan, all that stuff. So they just, I don't know. They don't know. And now they know. And I think some of them are like, I don't know. I try not to have them walk away feeling like they've been like slapped on the wrist or anything by like, oh, animation costs this much money. We're far too good for that. But like, it's tricky.
Yes, one knows though. Like sometimes studios like HBO or something like that will come at you like, hey, could you like do this thing for $1,000? Like, no. It's one thing. Like you said, it's one thing when like a fan of the work comes and we have recently worked with an individual on a comic, and we told them, we're like, hey man, we don't typically work with individuals because of budgets and we saved up the money to actually do it. Like
2 years.
I almost expect.
Wow.
As your effort level and all that stuff, like, I will come back when I have the money, and they did, and we're doing work for them. Like, it's rare, and I'd argue that even the budget that we ultimately gave him was relatively low in the grand scheme of what the amount of work we ended up putting into it.
Yeah, for sure. I was just kind of really impressed, and we kind of had like some space. I was like, you know what, let's give it a shot. I was just impressed. This guy, like, literally, I thought he was like, oh, okay, yeah. I talked to him 2 years ago, and he sort of stayed in touch and kind of fanboyed all our stuff and reshared everything. And next thing you know, he shows up and he's like, yeah, I've got, a nice little stack of cash. I was like, you know what, let's go for it, man. So
that's awesome. And that also makes you want to overachieve too. Like, if it's
oh my God,
that like it's not like so big pharma or something like that, where it's just like minting money over there. It's some guy who just like has a passion thing and he really wants to get it off the ground, and he's working his ass off to raise the money to do it. Like, I don't know, you feel a lot of responsibility to that person.
I think we should have him on the podcast. Now that we're talking about, we should totally do this.
That's a great. I would listen to that. That's awesome.
He's like the highest energy, like he's like the zaniest, like just like wholesome crazy, right? Like, anyways, like, it's great. Anyways, yeah. So you never know.
All the characters for his story, with like junkyard sculptures. Like, he's a very like cool artist. Needed his stuff translated into like more of a cartoon style. So it was really fun. It was really fun. We're still technically working on the project, but it was.
Oh, we're almost done.
Yeah,
but we should definitely do an episode and launch it and talk and bring him on the podcast. We'll do that. So,
did he come to you through your NFT work, through your WWE work? Like, what did you ever figure out exactly what his vector was?
You'd seen several polls.
Cool. Yeah, he kind of connected to us. A guy I met on Lunch Club. I don't know if you ever networked on Lunch Club. If you have, I'll invite you to it. It's pretty awesome.
Is it cool?
Dude, Lunch Club's amazing. It's basically like online speed dating for like professionals, right? Like, it's like you build a little profile and say what your goals are, and then it matches you up with other people, and you just have random calls. Like, I mean, I've met some really like people I would have never met otherwise. It kind of like introduced me to other people, and just keeps like growing this web that like almost like randomness, where it's like, there's so much intention in your normal networking. Like, I go to this marketing event and meet other people doing marketing, but It's invite only, and I can send it to you. It's really good. And if anybody listening, I'm happy to invite whoever wants to come. It's a great platform. So I met someone there, and then he introduced us to this guy. So.
That's really cool. I would try that out. That sounds really interesting. I'm trying to, I don't know how you guys were, but after COVID, like I really, really, really got bad about getting out there and talking to people. And so like my new leaf I'm turning over this year is this, you know, it's going to networking events. It's just meeting with people and just chatting about the business and just like throwing around ideas with no particular like aim in mind. No mercenary kind of thing that I'm trying to get at through it. So that actually sounds kind of cool.
I'll definitely invite you. I'm making a note right now. Yeah, fortunately, Ross and I kind of divided and conquered on our responsibilities. You know, I used to kind of creative direct, and Ross would art direct, and then I had him in like networking groups, and we were both trying to do sales and art, and then at some point, Ross was like, I got to focus on this stuff, and then a later point, Ross was like, I need you to get out of the art department because you're a fucking mess. Like, so it's like,
I fired Carl from the art department.
Nice.
Yeah, he did.
I probably use Ross. I need someone to kick me out of production because I get so sucked into it, and it's the last thing I need to be doing. Like it's so time intensive. What I really need to be doing is this, and thinking about the higher level stuff and all that stuff. So
and that's
yourself. Hit me up.
Carl's strong suit as well, but he also suffers from the fact that like most of his ideas lack the practicality ramp that you need to actually get it done within a budget and within a timeline or whatnot. So like, he just dreams really big, which is great on like a, you know, where the business is going and sort of high scale business development direction type stuff. But it's less good when you have a client that we know where their budget is, and then Carl comes up with an idea that's like 5 times the budget.
Yeah, Carl and I have that in common. So yeah,
stretch him a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have my team. Lexi, who is our production and operations person, is the one who forces me to like look at a spreadsheet and look at a budget and organize everything ahead of time, because otherwise I'm just ready, fire, aim on everything. I'm like, I want to do this big thing. Let's just do it and we'll figure it out. And then every day, everything is on fire all the time. It gets done, but like everything is on fire from this day I start. I'm setting fire to everything around me until the project gets done. And that's not super healthy for a scaling creative organization. So I think I'm wired more like you, Carl, but man, I don't want to speak for you, Carl, but I value so much the person who can force me to organize my stuff in a way that can actually get done. And I don't wake up in the middle of the night every night 14 times figuring out how to put out these fires.
Yeah. I mean, so I think Ross and I worked that out in a way that's just like, I don't lose any sleep over production work at all. Like I haven't for years, which is great. Mm-hmm. And every once in a while, like I'm still an artist. I still like to create things. Every once in a while I get to come in and like save the day, and like everybody's stuck, and Ross is like, all right, Carl, I know you can crush this little thing here. Like I fixed a logo, like I think last year or something, which felt really good. But every once in a while I get to come in and be the hero, you know, but it's there's lots of like rails and guides, and Ross like, do this, and then I go,
here's the box. You don't get to know anything outside the box. Here's the box. I have one shitty little fire inside this box. I need
yes. Nobody creative needs a box. It's really chill. Working within a box is actually super crucial for any creatives, including myself. Like knowing where the walls are, knowing what I can bounce off of, because like the big blank sheet with nothing on it is like, I consider myself a creative person, but I can be a deer in headlights, and I'm just like, I can do anything I want. I can't think of anything. But if you're like, hey, we've got this widget, this thing right here, this audience, this time, this launch, this format, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can see a lot going on in there. Like all of a sudden I can see multiple ideas inside a box, but I can see 0 ideas with no constraints at all.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to go in an episode without saying this, but like creativity is just problem solving, right? Like it's really not that different from math, despite the fact that every creative person hates math. Like the difference is in math, you're given numbers and you're asked to solve an equation. With our industry, we're just asked to solve an equation, but we don't know what the numbers are. Mm-hmm. You have to make the numbers, otherwise we're just solving for anything we feel like. Like we get lost, and that's what I think most clients don't really understand. Is because they're not in this industry and they haven't had to problem solve this way. Is that like saying, "Oh yeah, just make it more creative," isn't a solution because it doesn't provide us any numbers to work with, right? And figuratively speaking, we need to know what tools we have at our disposal in order to build the thing. If we don't know the materials and the tools and the timeline and the et cetera, then it's overwhelming just due to the sheer number of possibilities.
Yeah, I think that's really true. It's funny, like when I think about what I would have done if I didn't know how to draw back in the day and I didn't go on a creative path, I would have totally 100% been like an engineer or an architect or something like that, where I could work with math and I could solve problems and I could like build freaking bridges and all that stuff. Because I think it's the exact same set of muscles. It's like figuring out how to make this impossible thing happen and still have it be beautiful and elegant. It's the exact same kind of thing.
100%.
100%.
Well, on that note, we are coming up on time. So I think this is a good place to wrap. We do have one last question for you, though. Is there anyone or anything in your career that you'd like to shout out to the audience? Something that maybe they might want to look up. It could be a mentor, valuable resource, favorite client, some sort of share the love exercise.
Yeah. So let me send a shout out to my team first. Alexi Morgan and Ian Mork. Without them, I'm absolutely nothing. I'm just some dunderhead who can't shit together. As far as a resource that I think people could really learn a lot from and get a lot from, I'm sure a lot of folks already follow Kevin Rapp. He's a local guy here in Columbus. It speaks a lot and very eloquently. I don't eloquently.
Perfect art
yourself as an artist and advocating for yourself, doing great art, doing great work, and communicating in a way that's really open and authentic. He's a great follow on LinkedIn. I would recommend everybody follows him. A very magnetic, great personality as well. So that'll be my shout out today, besides my awesome team, Ian Mork and Lexi Morgan. Again, without which I would be nothing.
Love that, man. Absolutely.
Cool. And then huge shout out to Ruth being on our show, because Ruth and Greg are friends, and Greg saw our episode with Ruth, and then that connected all the dots. So Ruth Newberry from Cream. So
awesome. Love her and Amanda and their work that they do at Cream Studios. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Dave, can't leave out Dave.
I haven't met Dave.
Dave's great too.
Let's go for Dave. Now,
what'd you say?
We've been talking with Greg Walter, who is the owner and creative director at Too Tall Animation. You can check out their website, as I mentioned before, at Too Tall. It's the number 2 TALL.TV. But if listeners want to follow up with you directly, Greg, where should they go?
Oh, as far as like a contact?
Yeah.
Greg at tootall.tv is my email. Hit me up, or at info@tootall.tv. And the great one about that is Lexi Morgan will also see that one. She's much better at replying to emails. And that is again in the number 2 TALL.tv. And you can also follow us on @TooTallAnimation on TikTok, Instagram to see our work and then see our weird little basketball stuff.
Yeah.
Another shout out to Lexi too, because she actually DM'd me, which is when we started the conversation. So I don't want to leave her off. But thank you.
Awesome. And thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. This has been awesome.
Yeah, super fun. Great work too, man. Everyone check out Greg's work. because it's Too Tall, the whole team. It's just really awesome stuff. So, appreciate it. All right, thanks for being on the show, Greg. Until next time, friends, we'll see you soon.
Peace.
Peace.
We really hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe to join us on our next journey through the world of art and business on the Pixel Retentive Podcast.